So to start things off at its most basic level, let's describe what haki itself is. Haki is considered the physical manifestation of one's own willpower. It takes one's own spirit, their will, and manifests it as energy that allows for supernatural abilities. The kanji for haki in Japanese precisely translates to ambition willpower. Specifically, ha can refer to a conqueror, a sovereign, but in this case it more represents the concept of ambition, of wanting to achieve something grander than yourself and having the willpower to do so. Ki instead refers to the Eastern concept of ki or chi, the vital energy that resides inside every living creature, which embodies one's spirit and will. Haki itself is both directly inspired and pretty similar to the concept of ki, since the concept of making one's ki flow to be able to properly attack is a key aspect in many Japanese and Eastern martial arts. Haki itself can manifest in what is subdivided into three official main categories: Kenbun Shoku no Haki, Busou Shoku no Haki, and Hao Shoku no Haki. The first of them is Kenbun Shoku no Haki. Each type of haki has shoku at the end, which means color, or essentially just means type in this case, but most fans tend to omit it, so Kenbun Shoku is often just translated as observation haki. The term kenbun means observation, to look into and absorb information, but it implies doing so through both the act of seeing as well as the act of hearing. The word kenbun is quite literally formed by both the kanji for seeing and the kanji for hearing, so it applies to the use of both. In the island of Skypiea, it is referred to as mantra or mind rope, but it should be noted that this is simply a dialect and not a special type. In that regard, observation haki allows one to notice things in their surroundings through heightened observation or hearing, sensing the spirits of others. These can be used in different ways. On one hand, it allows one to see others even in occasions when they cannot see them physically, by sensing their visual presence and voices. This applies, for example, to people who cannot see, such as the blind Admiral Fujitora, who is still able to sense the presence of people through his observation haki. It can also be used to see things that are beyond the user's line of sight, such as when Usopp was able to visualize the silhouettes of Luffy, Law, and Sugar from kilometers and kilometers away by sensing their spirits. This can be applied on a wider range too. The priests of Skypiea were able to use it to sense people within their respective domains, and Enel was also able to use it to count how many people were conscious during his death game, though it should be noted he used his Downfruit abilities to create electromagnetic waves to increase his range and ability, too, so that bit is unique to him thanks to his Downfruit. Rayleigh also was shown using this to gauge numbers within an island and being able to tell how many living beings were there. Someone who has a strong spirit will also stand out more to observation users, allowing them to gauge not just numbers but also strength. Observation can also be applied by allowing one to carefully observe their opponent in battle. By looking into their intent and body language, it can allow one to predict attacks by understanding what an enemy is going to do next. This is something that is also used in real-world martial arts. This can also help avoid projectiles by carefully observing their trajectory. However, we've seen that there are ways to circumventing, such as by attacking without thinking, by having attacks hit at random, or in the simplest and most effective way by overcoming the opponent through sheer speed and power to the point that they cannot keep up in predicting how the enemy will move next. Next, we have the second main category of haki, Busou Shoku Haki. Busou translates to armament or armor, using the kanji for martial armor. In that regard, it allows one to coat parts of their body with their own spirit, creating an armor around their body. This armor is very powerful and resilient, automatically making attacks hit harder and with more punch, similar to the difference of punching with a bare fist or while wearing an iron knuckle. Beyond just hitting harder, this armor also has a series of special effects, such as being able to negate the properties of Logia and Paramecia users who wouldn't be able to be hit under normal circumstances. This armor is usually depicted with distinct shiny black color. Before the timeskip, armament haki was not depicted visually, but it was changed as an artistic choice by Oda after the timeskip to help more easily distinguish those who were using haki, without the need to spell it out every time. However, it's still debated by some fans if this is simply a redesign of haki in general to make it more easily distinguishable, or a separate type of armament, meaning that armament could be used with or without coating it in black. Or perhaps it's just a combination of the both. Luffy referred to this as hardening, implying that it's perhaps a different form. However, Luffy has stopped using this name much after the start of the time skip, and other characters haven't even used it at all, so it's possible that this was just an idea Oda backtracked on or just a random name he used. This is even more confusing by the fact that even after the time skip, there are some users who used haki despite no visual hardening, though some people argue those are just mistakes by Oda. It's impossible to say for sure, however I'm leaning towards the fact that this was just a visual redesign, considering that Oda drew Rayleigh's haki-like hardening in future flashbacks despite it not being there originally. It's still possible there is a way to use armament without it looking black, or perhaps those really are just mistakes, but in general, at this point in the story, everyone uses hardening by default anyway. That said, let us move to the advanced forms of armament haki. On a basic level, one's armament can be used as an armor to hit others with a lot of strength, as well as bypassing the fruit properties. It can also be used defensively to protect one against strong attacks, even including things such as blades that would otherwise cut someone's body. Strong users can hone their armament further to the point that they can overwhelm the armament haki of others, causing damage to their opponents even if they use armament, such as by being able to cut someone's body or doing significant damage. Next, we have the our final main category for haki is Hao Shoku no Haki. Hao translates to Conqueror King or Sovereign King, though fans usually shorten it as just Conqueror's Haki. Hao uses the same ha as in haki, which means conqueror or one with ambition, as this type of haki is only possessed by those with the ambition to overcome others and reach for the top. This ability, unlike basic observation and armament, can only be attained even at a basic level by a few select individuals, said to be one in several million people. However, it should be noted this is not a power gifted at random, but simply something that only awakens in those whose willpower surpasses that of almost all other living beings. In other words, if you don't have conquerors, then that's on you not having enough strength of will, as only the most ambitious are able to awaken it. At a basic level, Conqueror's Haki allows one to emit an energy blast of their willpower that overwhelms the will of others. This will cause those with wills weaker than the users to feel overwhelmed, being frozen in fear or simply startled, with those who are particularly weak by comparison outright fainting. If someone's will is closer in level to the user, then they will barely feel the effect. This blast can be applied to a very large crowd, allowing one to deal with several weak enemies at once without having to bother fighting them. It is implied that when learning to properly use it, it can target specific targets in order not to hurt allies. This has also been seen as a way to tame wild beasts. By suppressing the haki of the beast with their own, a conqueror's user can intimidate a beast enough so that the beast runs away or refuses to fight, just like when used against normal people. If the beast's will is weak enough compared to the user, then it will also faint like a normal person. Conqueror's Haki can also manifest itself when two Conqueror's users clash, creating a Conqueror's Clash that sends a shockwave that can physically push objects away. The stronger the Conquerors of the users, the more devastating the shockwave will be. The shockwave is usually drawn with black lightning sparks, but it is important to note that said sparks are also used even outside the context of Conquerors, so it can be questionable if them appearing is a use of Conquerors or not. Also, Conqueror's Haki from a more powerful user will also often result in items shattering from the strength of their willpower, cracking wood and other surroundings when used.